it was very interesting to attend as the president of the club the virtual district meeting on Saturday, because I could see that it was a Zoom meeting, it was online, and I was a little bit worried imagining how more than 100 club officers would go through such a meeting where you need to vote on certain elements of Toastmasters. And I had the pleasure to find out that it went very well because it was very organized and people were very eloquent and good communicators, which is what you would expect from Toastmasters. I could clearly see that we are part of an organization that is well organized, well structured, and the leadership behind Toastmasters International is very ambitious to really provide excellent structure and guidance. So you are part of something that is very big and very elaborate. Just for your knowledge, I think that is very interesting. I think we can move to the first speaker now, and that will be Harlan. Harlan always says he can fill whatever role or speak at every meeting if need be. I don't know the specifics of your speech, but I know the title is leader. And a leader most certainly is someone who can always spontaneously step in and tell us something interesting, invigorating, motivating, and I'm sure you will be doing that for us right now, Harlan. Please come up to the lectern and deliver your speech.
Thanks, Shanko. Leader. What does it mean to you? All of us, no matter what our station in life, is a leader. Whether that's to your household, whether that's at your job because you actually have a position of leadership, whether you're leading no one else but yourself. You are a leader. But what kind of leader are you? We look out there in the world today, and there's all types of leaders. There's some that we say, wow, that person is doing a great job. Here you look at some and you go, how do they ever get to that point? What's important to them? What makes them a leader? And should we respect them just because they have a name or a title that causes them to be a leader? I say no. I say they did not earn your respect just because they decided to give themselves a name of a CEO, or they did the things that required them to get to that position, but it may not have been the things that we would want to see someone do to earn that position. See, I believe a true leader can set aside his or her own agenda to take on an agenda of service, whatever that looks like in that particular organization. See, in my opinion, when you are a leader, your goal should be their success. Let me repeat that to you again. As a leader, your goal should be your people's success, whoever they are, your family, your co-workers, the folks that work under you, whatever it is. Your goal should be their success, nothing else. See, a leader is only responsible for three things. Only three. Okay, that's it. Their attitude, their actions, and their thoughts. That's only three things. That's everything, but that's only three things. Your attitude will determine everything about you. How's my day going to be? If you wake up with a bad attitude, you just ain't got it going on today, how do you think that's going to spill over to the folks that you're in charge of? I have a 15-year-old daughter. If I wake up with a bad attitude that day and I let it spill over to her, what kind of morning are we going to have as a family? What kind of day will then she have at school? My goal is her success. So I have to get over myself. I have to get my attitude out of my way and my family's way. I have to get that out of the way so she can be successful. Because there's no way she can be successful if my attitude does not allow her to. My actions. If my actions do not betray my acceptance of her, my acceptance of the situation, my desire for things to be better, if my actions cause her to be distraught, she cannot have a good day. We haven't even got to my wife yet. We're still talking about my daughter. Much less those folks that I work with. Because all of this is important. Every single bit of it. We get into my thoughts. Well, if my thoughts are, you know what, I'm just not going to get it done. I just can't do this today. I just can't do whatever. If my thoughts are, I cannot succeed, do you know what? I cannot succeed. Because I have allowed my thoughts to control my actions, to control now my attitude, and I have failed everyone, including myself, on what I'm doing to lead. Don't be mistaken. A leader is not someone that sits up in these chairs, is not someone that should be standing over folks telling you, you do things this way, and that's the way it is. Because when you act like that, people are going to push back. Would you put your hand up for me? Why are you pushing on me? What are you doing? I didn't say push on me. I said put your hand up. But she pushed back, just like she should, because I was invading in her space. A good leader doesn't push on you. A good leader lifts you up.
Thank you so much, Harlan. Speaking of leader, I know one of the district leaders just came in. Kathy, towards the end of the meeting, you have something for us. Do you want to briefly explain what that is about and why we have the pleasure of gaining that from you?
Actually, I have something extra even because you guys are the first club to charter in the district this year. So congratulations. Because you chartered in 30 days or less, you get a lectern from Toastmasters and a tiny one. And your banner should be on the way. Everybody gets a banner. But you guys won everything that you could win for chartering so quickly, and thank you for doing that. You're actually a superstar as far as we're concerned.
Awesome.
Well, it's certainly a team effort, and we have great club members here. One of our club members being the faculty and staff of the Northeast Lakewood College, which is why tonight we have another guest in attendance. I believe a student from the college, right? Is that correct? Thank you so much for attending. This lets me get to the next part, which is our second speaker of the night. And I have a nice introduction here from Laura that I can read off. That is something we haven't really consistently been doing in this club. Whoever has a speech, it would be helpful if you provided an introduction in writing to the Toastmaster. So I'm going to read that now. Dr. Laura Boyer-Sanchez serves as Vice President for Academic Success of Northeast Lakewood College. In this position, she serves as the Chief Academic Officer and is responsible for overseeing the college's academic units for credit transfer, degree workforce credit programs, the college's academic support services, learning resources, and distance learning. Laura has over 22 years of higher education experience within community colleges. She is passionate about leadership development and improving lives through access to and completion of higher education. Laura, it is a pleasure for me to introduce you and let you deliver your speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster. My installment of the icebreaker this evening I titled, Why I Hate My Birthdays and I Love What I Do. John Maxwell teaches us that attitude is nothing more than a habit of thought. But he also teaches us that nothing in life breeds resilience like adversity and failure. I'm going to talk about these things too tonight because I think they both might be true. And the way I want to do that is I want to talk to you about a very personal part of my leadership journey that was my catalyst for my career today. I have the honor of serving as the Vice President at Northeast Lakewood College, and in that role, I have the opportunity to direct and directly impact the lives of thousands of students. And to the students in the room, please know I take that very, very seriously. And I have the opportunity to help drive the move forward of this college and this community. But I don't really want to talk about that tonight. What I really want to talk about is how I came to the job that I have and my passion for this job. And that catalyst was the worst day of my life, which was July 14th, 2000. In 1996, I got married. I was 24. And the following spring of 97, I started working at a community college for the first time in curriculum development. The following spring, my daughter Margaret was born. I was 26 and I was happy. I was living every young girl's dream, married, a new daughter, and I became pregnant with my second child very closely after that. But when my daughter Margaret was 6 months old, she started having seizures. Shortly after that, at 9 months, we were lucky enough to find a doctor that was able to control her seizures, which was a great benefit for us and for her quality of life. But unfortunately, that came with more bad news. About 6 months later, at Texas Children's Hospital, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I sat and listened to the best doctors in the world tell me that my daughter would not live to be 2 years old. And they were right. And she did pass away before her second birthday at 23 months old on July 14th, 2000, which was the day before my 28th birthday. I say that to tell you that the next few months of my life were very difficult. I had people in and out of my house for weeks, wanting to help, wanting to be there for us, but no one really knows what to say in those kind of situations. And at the end of the day, it really didn't matter what they said because I couldn't hear. I wasn't listening. I couldn't think. And so after everybody kind of went back to their lives, as they absolutely should have, to their own families and supporting their own children and helping their families move along, I felt very alone. And even though I was married and was raising at that point a 10-month-old son, my son Morgan, who's now 20, I still felt very alone, and I really struggled with why I was still here. And I would have a conversation with myself every single morning when I got up to go to work for the first 5 minutes, and the question was, why am I going to get up today? And I could never come up with a solid answer, so the only answer I could come up with is I'm going to get up today because I can. And because I can get up today, I should. So every day I had that 5-minute conversation with myself, and I got up and I went to work. But an interesting thing happened during that time when I got up and went to work because I started to realize I was really, really good at something. And I was really, really good at developing programs and working with faculty to build the programs they wanted and the programs that our students needed to be successful. And that brought me some happiness. And so a couple of years later, I volunteered at graduation for the first time. And I was leading students in to sit. And so once that was done, I basically sat through the whole graduation and really didn't have a role. And shortly after they started announcing the graduates, they started announcing graduates in one of the first programs that I had submitted on behalf of a faculty member. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I'm going to count and see how many graduates there are in the programs that I've been working on. I counted over 500 graduates that day in programs that I had submitted to the coordinating board. And that was the catalyst that made me realize there was a reason I was getting up every day to go to work. And that because I made that decision to get up when I really didn't have a reason, I was able to impact the lives of over 500 students. And that was amazing to me, and that made all the difference. That's why I have the passion that I have to do what I do now and to continue that work. While I was at that college, I had the opportunity to develop over 100 program offerings, including 4 baccalaureate degrees. Over 40,000 students have graduated from that college in programs that I had the opportunity to help develop. All because I made the decision every morning to get up when I didn't want to. I didn't realize that impact that I was going to have, but now I do. I realize how important it was that I made that, what seemed to me an inconsequential decision every morning. And now I've impacted all of these lives. And so I continue to do that work today. The reason I want to share this with you is because while I think that I don't think I really developed resilience because of the strife and that hardship that I went through. I think resilience is a habit that I choose every single day. I choose to be resilient. I choose to continue to get up. There are still hard days, even now, 20 years later, 19 years later since she passed away, but I still decide to get up every single day. And because I do that, I allow joy to replace the grief, and I continue to impact the lives of thousands of students. Now I'm at a new college, and I'm in the same opportunity to watch a new college grow, and I'm going to continue to do that and bring joy to my life every day. So that is why I hate my birthday, and I love what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I'm always very impressed and more often than not surprised about what I learned from icebreakers. It's a very interesting part of the meeting, really, and leaves me speechless sometimes. I would like our timer to give us the times report on the 2 speeches.
I apologize for the previous times that I gave for the speeches. The minimum was 4. You get a warning at 5, and 6 is the max. Harlan, your speech was 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And Laura, your speech was 6 minutes and 15 seconds.
Thank you very much. When Ben called me this afternoon, he told me that they get extra credit for showing up, and there's a little bit of more credit to be earned if they actually speak. So I'm going to give the 3 students the opportunity to do that by asking you a short introduction, who you are, what you are studying, and maybe what your favorite part about fall is. If you want to, it's not an obligation, but you can have your extra credit. The first one can come up here to the lectern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ben Brandoff. I'm a student at Northeast Lakeview. Focus on engineering. Hopefully transfer up to Temple for Texas A&M. Sorry, Temple's not here. For aerospace engineering. Recently got out of the Marine Corps. I was a CH-53 avionics technician, CDQAR. So what my job was to ensure safe practices on the aircraft, and including all electrical, mechanical functions that it has to deal with. So communications, navigation, systems, and operations. When I got out, I moved back to Pennsylvania, where I'm from, and then I moved here to be with my girlfriend. Those two have heard the story before. I'm not with my girlfriend anymore, so here I am. Was it fall? Yeah? Yep. Okay. Actually, my favorite season is fall because it's my birthday. I was born on September 9th, 1994, so I'm 25 now. Getting there. You can definitely feel it whenever you wake up. And crack my arms all the time back there. Yeah. In Pennsylvania, it's usually more wet during the fall season. Here in Texas, I've learned that it's still hot, 3 digits, where in Pennsylvania you'd be in like 65s. But that's why I like fall. I like it better here because it's hot. I like the dry heat, don't like the humidity. That's not me. And that's it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Herron. I'm also a student at Northeast Lakeview. We are under Professor Archibald Wortham. He's the person who let us know about these meetings. And like everybody else in our class, most of us are trying to get a better understanding of how to be good public speakers and how to not utilize the uhs and ands. Like Ben, I spent 10 years in the military, well, a little bit longer than him. I was in the Army. I was a 35 November, which is an intelligence analyst, and I have a lot of time deployed and speaking in front of soldiers, but it's a lot different when you have knowledge and skills and training that you are used to, and you are used to teaching soldiers and training them, compared to something that you're not used to doing, which is a group full of strangers and just making stuff up as you go. So it's a little bit different, but I think that's why all of us are taking that class, is to better ourselves. I think it's required, part of the curriculum, but I chose it in my first year. As an intelligence analyst, I've done a lot of interesting things. I worked at the NSA site in Hawaii when Edward Snowden was there. I've got 5 deployments under my belt, so I'm trying to bring a lot of that experience and leadership and a lot of things that you said, Harlan, resonated with me towards my classmates. I'm the old guy in class. I haven't been to high school in 19 years, and I decided to go back for the first time. So everyone has these abilities and knowledge and things that they remember from last summer or 6 months ago, and it's been as long as they've been alive since I was in school. So it's an interesting experience so far. My favorite thing about fall so far in Texas, I'm from California, is probably the weather as well. It's nice. I like the heat. I routinely have to remind my wife, hey, it's not Afghanistan, it's not Iraq. Whenever it's 105 out, I'm like, but it's not 134, I don't have a backpack on. So, and she gets really mad at me every time. She's like, you shouldn't have to rely on that experience. But it helps me. I'm also pretty basic. I like pumpkin spice, so for that I apologize. But it's delicious. And that's it for me. Skylar, get up there. Come on. You got 25 less points.
Your name was? Skylar.
Hi guys, my name is Skylar Palminger. I'm also a student at Northeast Lakeview. I am seeking an associate's in biology. I want to go on and be a doctor. I am right out of high school. I was homeschooled for 6 years. Before that, I went to Randolph. I was a gymnast during that time, but injuries have, kicked me out of that. My favorite thing about fall, I'd have to say the cooler weather. I like, in Texas it does stay well into the 80s, but when it starts to get down to 70, I'm looking for a jacket for sure. I need that comfort. Used to the Texas weather. The colors, definitely another good point of fall. It's when you go out, get those walks in for sure. And just the Thanksgivings when all the family gets together, probably one of the better parts of fall as well. I have to say that's pretty much it, for fall for me.
Andrew and Ben, thank you for your service. And to the 3 of you, I have to say, great job doing Andrea, did you happen to catch the time?
I did. Finn, you spoke for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Andrew, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And Skylar, 1 minute. Good job, everyone.
It's always interesting when you stand up front and you talk. Time is very relative. Which leads me to the next part, impromptu speeches, table topics, and Betty is going to lead that part of the meeting for us.
My favorite thing to do, table topics. And how many of you probably, you hear this over and over, I'm sure, from whoever does table topics. Maybe meet your boss down in the hallway and they ask you a question. Are you ready to respond to that question? Or do you think, oh, let me go back to my office and write up an answer and then I'll come back and tell you? Well, table topics is the section of Toastmasters where we get to practice extemporaneous speaking. It enables us to develop and our words, our impromptu speaking, and it provides a really valuable speaking opportunity. Teaches us to organize our thoughts quickly. So I'm going to ask some questions. Don't everybody jump at once and say, I want to be first.
Can I just explain the time again?
1 to 2 minutes.
Yes, okay. So this time I have it right. You guys have a minimum of...
Speak 1 to 2 minutes. At 2 minutes, she cuts you off.
Yeah. Get the red card.
Some of you are so young, I hate to ask this question, but when you were a kid, everybody in here is a kid as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
What did you want to be when you grew up? Who wants to answer that question in 1 to 2 minutes? Or shall I volunteer somebody? Donna.
I wanted to be a nurse when I grew up. I thought my grandma was the coolest nurse that I knew. She wore squeaky shoes that when I got my appendix removed, I knew my grandma was coming down the hospital hallway with the squeaky shoe. Also, I thought she got really good perks of being a nurse. She got to bring home the silver trays that are used in the surgical rooms with all the utensils nicely laid. I thought that was so cool that my grandma had 3 of those that we as kids would eat on our laps in her den. My grandma took those from the hospital. It wasn't one of those things that she should have taken. But she was still the coolest nurse grandma that I ever knew. She was the lady that if I came in and said, Nanny, I think I have a headache, she asked me if I had a bowel movement. Nanny, I think I'm hungry. Did you have a bowel movement? Nanny, I think that I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go to bed early. Did you have a bowel movement? So my nanny was the best nurse. I thought I was going to grow up, be the best nurse, maybe even a doctor, until I was 19 and I went to work for JP and saw my first death. And it was an accident, a vehicle accident. And as you know, in counties, those are done by the JP. That was the end of me wanting to be a nurse.
Wait, Tom. Are some of you students ready to speak again? Okay.
Same thing or new topic?
What are you? Come on. What are you proud of, but you never had an excuse to talk about it?
So the thing that I'm most proud of that I've never really had an excuse to talk about was a motto that I developed while I was in the Army. I spent 10 years in the military, and there's a lot of politics going on. If you want to rank up, if you want to get promoted, You have to follow certain rules and guidelines, and you're expected to say the right thing and agree with the right people. And I and a few of the other NCOs that I served with through a couple of deployments developed a motto that was soldiers first, last, and always. It didn't matter what any first sergeant or commander said. It didn't matter if we were told that we needed to do something that we knew was wrong, but someone who outranked us told us that's what we were going to do. We took it upon ourselves in that group to put soldiers ahead of ourselves. We acted as an umbrella to keep anything falling from above from hitting them, and we would just take the brunt of it. And it wasn't necessarily anything that anyone ever noticed. Maybe one soldier thanked me for it, but the group of us that had developed that motto, we were just proud amongst ourselves. It didn't matter. I spent 10 years in the military, and I was blocked for promotion 3 times because a first sergeant didn't like me, or a commander didn't like me, or I didn't say the right thing, or I wasn't willing to do it. But when I got out of the military, after breaking my back, I was med-boarded out. I had about 100 Facebook messages and emails from soldiers that said, "You're the reason I re-enlisted. You're the reason I stayed in. What you did is why I'm still in the military today." So I don't get to talk about it much, and I usually don't, just because it's something that I believe you should do no matter what. But that's something that I'm very proud of.
Skylar, can I ask you a question? Do they get extra points if they talk to my shaker?
They should, right?
You know, I asked you a question, the answer would have been yes or no. No, but I'm glad you came. No, I didn't want you to say no. But what is something that makes you angry?
Okay. Something that makes me angry. Okay. Something that makes me angry would definitely have to be when people belittle other people who are younger than them or don't respect their opinions. So not necessarily like somebody who does it to me, but when I see people who are my age doing it to say somebody who is 13, 14, 15 years old, I think it's not okay, because when you think about all the good opinions everybody has an opinion, and just because it's not your own opinion and because of somebody's age, that shouldn't be a hindrance to whether you listen to them or not. I feel like everybody should be given the same respect that you would give, say, somebody who is superior to you or somebody who is your elder. So I just think that regardless of a person's age, you should definitely listen to them, because they could have good ideas that you might not have thought of just because it's outside of your circle and outside of anything that your mind comes up with.
I lost my place. Someone to come and tell me about a time that you have taken a risk and it paid off. Laura.
Hi, so I have 4 kids, and my 2 oldest are already 35 and 32. Back in the day, I wasn't happy with what they were doing when they were in school, because various situations arose, and so my son was in 2nd grade. He comes home crying, and he has a piece of paper, and I see his grade. Back when they would rate you 1 through 4 to see if you were a good writer. Well, he was getting 1s, and he was getting 2s. And he was crying, he goes, "I'm never going to learn to write." I'm like, "No, sir, you're going to college." So you're not going to be discouraged and upset now. My daughter came home when she was in kindergarten, and she just threw her stuff on the sofa and said, "Bears, bears, bears. We've been studying the letter B all week. I can't stand it." Okay, so this was all week doing B. And then there were other incidents where I said, "You know what? this isn't happening very well. You know, you can love your school and your teacher, but when you see your own personal kids not doing well, you think about it. So I homeschooled. So this was back in around 1987, when not many people were homeschooling. So that the reason I did that was because I had heard of a classmate who was homeschooling. And I thought, well, if Norma can do it, I can homeschool. So I did, and I was able to teach them for a couple of years, and then we moved to a smaller town where it was such a small environment. K through 12 was in one school. They were joined by a cafeteria, Brackettville, Texas. I don't know if you know where that is. But in Brackettville, Texas, I knew I would know every principal, every teacher, every parent. So I said, okay, I trust this little environment. So they did go back into their regular public school. But by then, they were already like a year ahead of everybody else in their grade. So the homeschooling was great, even though everyone thought I was crazy. I took the risk, but I'm glad I did.
Matthew,
Yes.
come tell me what you expect to get out of Toastmasters. What's it going to do for you?
All right, 1 to 2 minutes. All right, Toastmasters. What I hope to get out of Toastmasters in 1 to 2 minutes. Hello. All right, let's use the word installment. Wow, nobody's done that yet.
Yes.
This word has always confused me because I thought the word meant was past tense, a basement, an improvement, something that has already been done. But installment means something you do every month. I don't quite get that. I'm a little confused on that. What do I want to get out of Toastmasters? I've done stand-up comedy for 20 years. My first 3 to 5 years of that, I got a lot better at public speaking, but I'm still not good at maybe giving business presentations. When you hit me with something at the last minute, I get a little red face, a little nervous, butterflies in the stomach. I had one comic said, you can have butterflies in your stomach, you teach them how to fly. So I hope to be a better speaker. I also hope to make more professional contacts, because a lot of people tell me, I run a video animation company, and I've learned all about digital marketing. Some people said, yes, that stuff is all great, but nothing beats getting out and meeting people, or meeting people that can introduce you to people, or meeting people who can introduce you to people who can introduce you to people. And that is a big part of what I hope to get out of Toastmasters, to be a better speaker, and meet different people in different walks of life. 1 minute, I gotta go for another.
No, you're good. This is the minimum. You've hit it.
Thank you, and good day.
Thank you, everyone. We have just had 5 installments of table topics.
Yeah, you did.
And we do have several installments of timers reports, and I'm now asking the installment for the table topics.
Third installment. Okay. All right. For table topics, Andrew, you spoke for 1 minute 31 seconds. Skylar, 1 minute 18 seconds. Laura Farias, 1 minute 55 seconds. And Matthew, good job, 1 minute and 11 seconds. You started at 26 seconds when we first started. So you've improved. Good job. Oh, 1 minute and 39 seconds. I'm sorry. You did so good. Excellent.
Well, Matthew, you were asked only a few minutes before the meeting if you wanted to do the general evaluation
All right,
part.
so I go up there and do it?
Yes.
Sure.
So you can prove that you're getting better at it.
Okay, well, I evaluated, I was watching you, Harlan. I thought your speech was excellent, good eye contact, you planned it out. I don't remember you reading off of notes. I think you had it memorized, which was pretty darn impressive.
Matthew,
Good.
I know I gave you a very short introduction into what you need to do. So you introduced the first evaluator, which is Dara. And then,
Oh, that's what I'm doing? I'm not evaluating, I'm introducing the evaluator. All right, I got that all wrong.
And
Sorry.
then when you have introduced both evaluators and they have given their evaluations, then you get to ask for the reports of timer and WAG, and then you give your evaluation on the end time.
All right, I botched everything. All right.
Part of being a good public speaker is being spontaneous and being able to adjust, so not a problem at all.
All right, well, there is no first evaluator listed here. It's only second evaluator. All right.
The first evaluator is going to be Darla.
Darla what?
Darla Pete.
Darla Pete.
And the second evaluator is Tammy Perez.
All right. So what do I just say? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Darla Peach.
Okay, excellent talk. I really enjoyed it. You opened with a question, you paused, and you let us think about it a little bit before you moved on, which is a good thing to do. You also gave, I don't know how many people were here when you gave your speech, but you gave an excellent traditional Toastmaster speech with 3 points, and you expanded on each point, which that's what they want us to do. Excellent. You had excellent eye contact. You worked the whole room, and you also worked the stage. The other thing you did very well is all of your gestures that you did supported what you were doing. You had good vocal variety. You didn't speak in a monotone like I do. You made your points. You got low. You got loud. And you even incorporated a member of the audience in your talk. I loved your close. I love it when someone closes with a quote. You said, a good leader doesn't push on you, a good leader lifts you up, which is a great thing to close with. I also love that you did not say thank you. I said, thank you for not closing with thank you. You said ain't and can't, which that's kind of a country thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of a country guy.
And it's vernacular, so you might want to work on that. I'm going to challenge you to include the word of the day. I think you could have worked installment into your talk a little bit. I really do, because you're up here thinking on your feet. You had this tiny little piece of paper, and you probably had 3 words written on it, and you didn't really consult your paper but one time, which I was real impressed with that. I think you're a great speaker already. You've got a great foundation. You were easy to understand. You didn't have any ahs or ums. No bad pauses. Definitely great vocal variety to make your points. You scanned the room as you were talking. I'm doing the whole thing here. You scanned the room as you were talking. Had excellent eye contact. Your hand gestures and your body language supported your talk very well. You are just A+. Just work on adding in the word of the day, which is installment. I'm going to say it twice. And work on your language a little bit.
Work on my country.
Work on your country. And I would give you an A+.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I do or do not say thank you. You're supposed to say thank you.
At the end of your speech, we thank you, you don't thank us.
All right then. Now, can we please give your full attention to our next evaluator, Ms. Tammy Perez. Oh, I see.
So, first of all, Laura, not fair. It was so hard to do an evaluation with such an emotional speech. I think that you really engaged your audience through the story that you told us. It was emotional, it was engaging. Your gestures were very good. After you got going, you looked up and you looked around the room and you stopped using your paper. And that was just fabulous. Your narrative was framed very well. You had continuity throughout. You didn't use any fillers. At least I didn't notice any because I was too busy listening to the story. I would say you may want to look up a little bit more in the beginning. If you want to challenge yourself, you may want to just leave your paper down because it allowed you to fidget a little bit, you know. But I think it was because you were so emotional about your story. As far as clarity, I think you're a little quiet, but you're not hard to hear. And you did use vocal variety. You conveyed your emotion very well with your tone and your volume. You had great eye contact after you got started and nice gestures. I think you also had a very clear connection with your audience. Once you got into your story, you were able to look around and really, I think we felt what you were saying. You actually made me I think as far as comfort level, you seem very, very comfortable here. I think where you maybe weren't comfortable a little is just with maybe the topic of the story a little bit, and that, but once you got going, you became more comfortable with it. And as far as interest, it was very engaging and excellent content. So,
Thank you, ma'am. Another round of applause for her. What do I do now?
Call for the reports of your
Timers
timer
report?
and web.
All right, that would be Miss Andrea Ferguson.
Yes.
All right, Miss Andrea Ferguson, could we please have the timers report?
Yes. Darla, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Sorry. Tammy, you did 2 minutes. So everyone was within their minimum.
Thank you for the timers report. Now we would like to introduce the general evaluator. Is that right?
Yeah.
Not yet.
You asked for the web.
What report?
The word of the day, art counter and grammarians report.
All right, can I have the word of the day and grammarian report?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Donna Louder is my name.
Good evening, Miss Louder. Miss Louder, everyone.
Well, we all love our Us. Tonight's winner of the Us is Miss Skylar. And leaving one behind, Mr. Ben. The winner of the So Award, Miss Laura. I did catch the ain't in the can't. Or the can't and those ain't, or it was a really nice one. It was good Texan work there. And let's see, Matthew and Miss Darla both, and Shankar both, all three tied for using the installment word of the day.
Laura used it in her when she introduced her topic.
I did have Laura is one, but y'all each did two times. So I think we were told to do
the
highest ranking. Or do I do all of the ones that used it? Okay, so Shankar used it twice, Laura once, Betty once, Matthew twice, and Darla twice. Did I count you twice? Yeah. Okay. And that's it, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You all did wonderful.
Now is your time to shine.
I'll remind you.
My time to shine.
Yeah,
And what do I shine at?
What you thought about the meeting?
I'll remind you, you have 2 minute minimum, 3 minute maximum.
2 minute minimum.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what I think of tonight's meeting? Well, I got here early for once. I'm proud of myself for that. So I'll do that. I know I'm late. Like I said, I thought your speech was really good, and I said what I wanted out of Toastmasters was to meet people, and the whole thing about you push-pull, I know where you copped that from, so I got you on that one. I know who you stole that from. That's all right.
Yep.
Michael Caine said, in any creative endeavor, if you see someone doing something you like, take it, because I assure you they did. What else do you think about the meeting? I like the way of these guests. I can spot right away you guys are military. You have it written all over you. You literally have it written all over you. And I'm glad you guys are back here and not over there. Yeah. I'm happy about that. I'm glad I got to go through going through the introducing, and I'm glad I got it all wrong, because that's how you learn. You learn by getting things wrong. And you guys were supportive. You know, anyone, ha ha, you're dummy. At least maybe you didn't say it out loud anyway. What else did I like about it? I did like your speech. I like that you did not look down at your notes hardly at all. Your speech was a little bit looking down at your notes, but your content, in fact, you had the guts to bear something that personal, more than made up for it. And I liked that. I'm getting to know you guys a little better, and I got to see how you guys think. And quite frankly, when some of you were reading your prepared speeches, I got to know some of you that I kind of knew what was coming because I talked to you before. That's what I liked about it. Period.
No, Matthew, you did a great job. It was unforeseen for you, and you were put on the spot, and you fought through, worked through it, and that's what we're all about. So I think today's meeting had a lot of variety that I love. The students. So glad you came. Please come back if you enjoy it. Tell your colleagues that it's not that bad. And we have representatives of Toastmasters International here tonight. And now I would like Kathy to come up here and tell us why we are so great.
I'm gonna have my team come up too because we do all this stuff together. So thank you, sir. Like I said, you guys are our shining star this year because you're the very first club that chartered. So we like to do special things for our special clubs.
Can the club officers come through here? You all deserve that.
The first little goodie, and I'm going to set it up so everybody can see it. You probably saw it at the demo meeting if you were here. Is this lectern that you will be able to use in the future if you like.
Beautiful.
Yep. I don't have one that fancy at my club.
So it folds down so it's for easy carry, huh?
That's the first installment. This is the one we used at the demo meeting, so that it already has batteries. Oh, wow. Do you know how to work it? I haven't even tried to work one yet. There's instructions, which is good because none of us have used one of these yet. This is the brand new timing light that is sold at the district store, but you guys have your very own that you didn't have to pay for, so that's awesome. Check it out. Check out the instructions.
Does it do green?
Does it what?
Do green, yellow, red? Always
Yeah.
use white.
Actually, you just set the times and it comes on by itself. But you'll have to read about it because that one's too fancy for me. Now this is something Betty is coveting. I'm sure. Do you have one in your book? You got something to cut this with? Anybody got a pocket knife?
The country boy.
Yeah.
Country boy will survive.
There's all kinds of table topic cards out there. This is one that's sold on the district store. It's called a chat pack. They've actually come out with a second one. So if you are told at the last minute that you have to be or at the last minute that you have to be the table topics master, you don't have to come up with your own questions like Betty has, because she's been doing this almost 100 years. These will actually, you can just let people draw a card.
That's cool.
So let's let Shankar do one because he hasn't gotten to do table topics today.
He's not even looking.
You picked one. I'm going to read it for you, or you can do it your own. You know what? When you're in charge, you do it however you want. If you could ask every citizen 3 questions, what would you ask?
You know this answer.
Kathy, dear members, and dear guests, the first question would very likely be, and I'm going to pick a representative here for the citizens. Andrea, listen, you live in this country that is so vast and that offers you so many opportunities, that represents the world of capitalism and democracy and freedom to the rest of the planet. Are you aware of the fact? Do you understand what kind of an impact your nation and this country has upon the world? I can tell you, me, as a little boy growing up in Luxembourg, everything was formed and marked by the United States because we had been liberated by the US in 1949 and 45, and I was just raised by a generation that loved the United States, and our media, our clothing, our institutions, our music, everything was really marked by the US. So that's a lot of responsibility. The second question would be, Andrea, this is such a vast country. Have you taken the time to explore your nation? Because you have Alaska with the natural beauties, the coal, and you have Texas with the vastness, the oil fields, and the hospitality. The third question would be, Andrea, I think the last century was the American century, but I feel that complacency is creeping into this nation. And what can you and your children and grandchildren do to keep the United States on the forefront of innovation and world leadership? Please think about that and then tell me what you would do to help us stay in the front.
I want to let everybody know I'm really impressed with how this club is moving right along. I'm sure my teammates are too. We're really excited to have the people from Lakewood or Lakeview? Lakeview. We actually have a connection with the Alamo Community College District. One of our great clubs that we chartered last year is at the district. We're getting ready to charter one at Northwest Vista. So I'm really excited to see students here. We would love to have students from every campus involved. And all the ones that live close to here, please keep coming to these meetings because this club is going to be great, just like they've started out. So thanks for having us here tonight.